Okay, we've got a motion by Councilmember Lovell, second by Mayor Baird. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Mayor Baird?
Yes.
Councilmember Shields?
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell?
Aye.
Councilmember Pryor?
Aye.
All right. Do we have any public comments today?
No.
Okay. Moving on to business. I think our first item on our agenda is approval of the minutes from the April 3rd meeting. Can I get a motion, please?
Chair, I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Lovell, second by Mayor Baird. Can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Shields?
Aye.
Councilmember Pryor?
Aye.
Mayor Baird?
Aye.
And Councilmember Lovell?
Aye.
Okay, so then the next item on our agenda is a report from our lobbyist on pending legislation. Mr. Head or Mr. Durham, who wants to lead this off?
I'll just give a quick introduction. Jim Durham has been our lobbyist for a number of years, and one of the things we kind of had in the contract was a couple of periodic updates during the year. And so right here, as we approach the finish line of the session, we asked him to kind of come and give us the latest skinny on all the bills of interest. And it sounds like we've got some good news and some not so good news. Okay news, but not great news. So with that, I'll let Jim just kind of walk through bills of interest. And I know he kind of has this encyclopedic knowledge of this stuff right now, so we can ask questions. We'll see if we can stump the chump, maybe.
Mr. Head, Mr. Durham.
All right. Well, let's start with the good news, which is the appropriations for the Troop A relocation have passed both House and Senate in House Bill 8. It's on its way to the governor, and our last information from him is that he intends to sign it, that in fact, he meant to include it in his budget recommendations, and it simply got overlooked. Now, we'll see. But I don't see any issue at the governor's office. The other big issue we've been following, of course, is the site for the solid waste facility. And I am about 95% certain that's not going to pass this year. There is, Mayor Lucas has apparently or is going to offer a resolution or something in Kansas City Council to postpone any consideration of any solid waste facilities for 1 year until I think the date I just saw was June 1 of 2024. So we get another bite out of the apple, I guess. In addition, there was appropriated, although I have to confess I have not been able to find an appropriation, but there was appropriated to DNR funds to do a study over the next year on basically the fiscal and environmental impact of a solid waste facility located in that area south of Highway 150. I think the city is going to have loads of opportunity over the next year to make comments, to push toward a denial, but it's still out there. And I'll be honest, Thursday, Senator Bratton got on the floor and used up almost 7 hours of the last bit of session to berate other senators for obstructing this bill. that's not the best way to establish a good working relationship. So I can't even tell you next year what the reception is going to be on this. However, that was added, that bill was added as an amendment to Senate Bill 222, which is in conference right now. And I'm, again, 90% certain that that language is going to be removed from the bill. It's also in, I think it's Senate Bill 109, where that's a bill relating to mining, but it was amended to be relating to DNR. And again, it contained a amendment moving it from half a mile to 1 mile. I frankly can't tell you what the status of that bill is right now. But again, I think that's something that's likely to be removed if it comes to conference or to consideration of the floor. We've still got one bill that concerns me, and that's Senate Bill 131, which is a repeal or prohibition on any state or local sales tax on firearms and ammunition. It's been amended to make sure it's only those manufactured in the United States. But the fiscal note on that is close to $1 billion hit on municipalities. And the bill still seems to be moving. It was, I think, voted out of Senate fiscal oversight and is on the agenda as House bills for third reading. We've also had issues with Parks and Recreation. One bill on, what was it? House Bill 1368, which related to having Parks and Recreation have to be registered with the state and supervised by the state. That has never come out of the House. We have been watching it, seen no amendments being offered on that, and we are confident that one's dead for the rest of the session. The other bill, the one relating to appointment of the Parks Board, I haven't been able to get in touch with Kinda Hyman, who's the lobbyist for the Park Board statewide, or the Association of Park Board People. And I frankly cannot tell you what source or rationale for that bill is, but it doesn't seem to be moving. We're kind of keeping an eye on it. That was also in Senate Bill 222, which it really hasn't had much of a Senate hearing. I don't think it's going to be kept in the bill. But frankly, right now, we don't know. And then there was one other, let me check. Oh, no, never mind. I think that covers the Parks and Recreation bills. I'm afraid somewhere along the line, they're going to pass something that cuts into city revenue. They're committed to coming up with another reduction in taxes, even though last year they did nearly a $2 billion potential cut. They've now this year added potentially an elimination over about 3-year period of time of corporate income taxes, which could be another $2 billion. state budget. Neither of those would affect the city, but they may run out of ways to cut their own throats and decide to start cutting at yours. And right now, all I can tell you is 1 week to go, and things are going to be hectic and confusing as ridiculous. So I'll take any of those questions as this great source of knowledge, but frankly, don't know if I have answers for you. And if there are no questions,
I was just going to ask, does the committee have any questions? Mr. Head, are there any items? Oh, go ahead, Mayor Baird.
I didn't understand, Jim, about the what the bill actually states when with regard to the Parks Board. Are you talking about the state park board or what park boards?
well, there are two bills. One is basically every like summer camp, which the city has a number of summer camps.
Yeah.
We have to register with the state. That's the one that's definitely dead. The other one is I may have to rely on Brian to give you a better explanation, but basically it's the one that originally kind of established park boards in various cities and authorized them to create this park board and submit to the public a vote for a property tax to fund parks. That goes back 50, 60, 70 years, but the only thing being changed in the bill currently is instead of the mayor shall appoint a park board, it says may. And your parks department and other park departments are concerned that this may somehow eliminate that park board. I tend to disagree because the tax that funds the parks, the property tax at least, that funds the park, requires, it dedicates the money to the control of the park board. So if you don't have a park board, you've just got money sitting there and you can't touch.
So the concern that the parks, there's a parks association statewide had is the earliest iterations of this, the way I understood it, would have eliminated even the possibility for parks boards having independence. So even the statutory boards that exist out there would have been beholden more to the governing bodies of whatever their entity was. We were never 100% sure what that would mean, given that we're a charter city and some things like that. But Joe has been on this bill for quite a while, and he told me this morning, I got an email from him, that the language that they were concerned about had been removed from the bill. And so they weren't as worried about it at this point if it did end up passing. The other one related to the summer camps would have required them not to just register with the state, but they would have also had to be essentially licensed as a daycare. They would have had to meet many of the standards of a daycare. And that include facility changes and background checks for employees and a whole bunch of things that they were concerned about. I think it went through a number of iterations, and I'm not sure where in the process that piece was, but that was what brought up the concern to begin with. And so Joe, I know, had some conversations directly with Jim, and Joe and I have had conversations about it, but it looks like both of those bills have been mostly defanged at this point.
Okay.
The one concerning registration, that's totally dead. And,
Yeah.
and as I said, we haven't seen any amendments being offered on that to other bills that are moving. I am glad to hear that apparently it was taken out of Senate Bill 222,
Yep.
which really should be cut back to what its original purpose was, which was simply, without legislative approval, the city could not implement a rent eviction moratorium, which, you know, that's once again, the state thinks it knows better how to run local government. But that one we could live with. Some of the other stuff that was in there, including the, one other provision that's bad for the city that I think is being removed.
Jim, oh, I'm sorry, Mayor, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna go back to the landfill then.
Yeah.
Senator Bratton put out a long Facebook Live video where he said that, where he explained that what you mentioned earlier with the DNR funding, as well as the city of Kansas City, Mayor Lucas saying that they'll do another a year-long suspension of any kind of approval, I guess. But he also went on to say that the Senate would put this on the floor for a vote right away. It'd be one of the first bills that they discuss and vote on when they come back. Can you explain the timing of that and if that's a realistic possibility?
If so, I haven't heard, because the last word we had was basically, we don't want to deal with this anymore. People are, shall we say, irritated with it. It very well may be possible that today, when they go in at 4 o'clock, that'll be the first bill up. And if so, that's great. Assuming we can get pending motion to amend it, removed, and no one offers any amendments.
Jim, he was referring to next session. He was
Right.
saying next session it would.
Oh.
And when would a vote like that take place if it's next session? Because that's kind of the next, and and he's been promised that by the Senate floor leader or whoever. Is that likely? Is that likely to hold up?
Yes, it's quite possible. Now, in terms of when would it actually be voted on? Well, it'd be pre-filed in December. When they go in January, well, I haven't looked that far ahead yet. Probably somewhere between the 5th and the 8th. It would be, well, basically the process is such that the earliest it could be voted on by the Senate is probably about 3 weeks after session starts, somewhere toward the end of January. It could go over to the House, where it has to go through 2 committees, be voted on by the House, maybe by mid-February. And so, yes, it is possible that it may be the very first bill passed next session. My concern, frankly, is that I'm not sure Senator Bratton hasn't irritated a few people enough that they may just, kind of for revenge's sake, hold the thing up. And I think the floor leader, she so far has been pretty reliable and been fairly good at it, despite not having a whole lot of experience. And so far, I think she's done well, and that she will stick by whatever she has promised.
Would it have been better if Senator Bratton would have just stuck to all the reasons that a landfill shouldn't go in that location? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Rather than pointing out that people shouldn't be, I mean, this is basically just a local law. It only affects Jackson County. So, and legitimately, he was upset that the people who were opposing it or who were filibustering it were from St. Louis County, St. Louis City, Greene County, Springfield area, and it didn't affect them at all. I just think he got a little carried away with some of the things he said, and even got some senators who were supporting the bill a little offended. So, who knows? By next year at this time, or I should say by next January, everybody making it a kumbaya moment, and things will be great.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Pryor, I see you turned on your camera. Do you have any questions?
I do. It's regarding the landfill bill. Well, also, to be fair, the emails that he was reading, the people that were filibustering it completely turned off. They weren't they turned off their ability to receive any emails.
Yes.
But the email, I mean, the study, the MDNR study, does that prevent the developer of the potential landfill? Does that prevent them from furthering what they're trying to do? Or are they just going to be a year further in the whole thing? Or does that kind of prevent them from moving forward on their end?
Well, basically, it only delays them. Now, it's quite possible, given this area that they're talking about, given that area, it's quite possible the DNR will say, this is ridiculous. This is, residential area and a scenic residential area. So who knows? But what I'm wondering is, well, basically, I can't tell you that the results of that study are going to kill this thing. It's just they're going to delay it, and the city's agreement to the delay, if they do it, would be helpful. Would be very helpful. It gives you a year.
So historically, can lobbyists approach MDNR to try to sway them, or does that typically not happen?
Yes and no. I mean, in the idea, yes, we lobby administrative levels too, but generally on something like this, where it's just conducting a study, no. I mean, I don't have the scientific background or any of the documents and stuff, so there's not much I can do to influence whoever does this study. It'll probably be subcontracted out to some private firm. So the answer is no, you can't really influence it. The public can.
So would going for the best course of action next, what do you mean the public can? Start emailing MDNR with, or how can they?
Mainly, there should be, for any rulemaking or anything like that, there would be some public hearings. And I would think for something like this, there may be public hearings local. We'll wait and see. But something like that, yes. But it still really relates to what are the economics of putting in a solid waste facility in that area. So you should be, the city is probably going to be contacted. I would think the school board would be contacted, but I can't tell you. I don't know what the details are of this proposed study.
And then that private firm that they choose, do you think will it be public to everybody what private firm they choose, or will they not really let anyone know until the study's in?
Oh, it would be public. And of Eventually, though, the study would actually be done by DNR, but they would be using like soil samples and engineering studies
Okay.
and appraisers, et cetera, which would be almost certainly private individuals that are subcontracted for.
I'm just thinking along the lines of how many people can their lobbyists lobby? I guess it is expensive though to pay their
Oh,
lobbyists
sure.
for that entire year.
Yeah. No, I mean, lobbyists, as of this coming Friday, are pretty much on hold. On all
Oh,
this.
good. Okay, good. Thank you.
That's one of the wonderful things about lobbying. When you fail, you have further employment. If you succeed, well, then, you know, they may go elsewhere.
Okay, thank you very much for
Yeah.
that information.
Do we have any other questions?
I had a question about 131. You were talking about the big price tag. We had talked previously about Senate Bill 161, which was the food one. What all is included in 131? I don't remember all the components of that. Did they slip the food into that one also?
No. And I did send you a follow-up errata email on
Haven't seen that.
161. I was thinking of 131, but it does not. There are amendments pending out there for any bill that might be moving to eliminate the sales tax on food, but it's been changed to only affect the state sales tax. Because that one had a fiscal note of 1.6 billion for the municipalities. But then it amazes me that also this 131 has a huge fiscal impact on the cities. Although the way it's worded, the gun sales person, retail, is entitled to recoup the federal firearms tax that he has to pay, which he can do either by withholding on sales tax or an income tax credit. So it's one of those, they get their money back one way or the other, but whether it's the state that puts the entire bill or it hits the city too, we don't know. I mean, that would depend on what the retailer decides.
Councilmember Pryor, do you have a question?
I do. Okay, so this is regarding something that's already passed, the SB 411. I don't know, and I've read over it, and I guess I've seen a lot of mixed reactions, but how is that going to directly affect us? I know the 4-day-a-week, if a district decides to do that, now it has to go to vote, right? But like the other stuff, how is that going to affect us?
I don't know that I can give you an answer because we haven't really been following that one.
Okay.
I know there's a lot of resistance to the 4-day week because people work and you need to have some sort of way to, you know, take care of the kid. But it was pretty much restricted to purely the schools.
I've seen a lot of homeschool parents upset too.
Oh, now I'm not sure why on that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? Councilmember Lovell, I haven't heard you chime in on anything.
This is the one time I'm just going to be quiet and listen.
Okay, fair enough. All right, well, seeing no further questions, Mr. Durham, thank you for your work and for the updates. We appreciate the emails and everything as well. So I think that will conclude this topic. Mr. Head, unless you have anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is roundtable. Do we have any roundtable items?
Chair.
Yes, Mayor?
Well, we have, we've created, communications, creative services. The city has created a page to log the landfill communications and activities from the city's perspective. So sounds like we're going to have plenty of opportunities to continue updating that page. You know, the December and January is a long time to wait to see if this should come to the floor. So we will definitely have to put together a plan and certainly try to communicate with not just the state, but Kansas City, because you can see that was an important part of Senator Bratton's strategy, was to get Kansas City to hold off on anything, because that's where it goes next. So so we'll just have to put our heads together with our legal staff, and I think Mr. Durham would say try to continue the conversation and be consistent. But I will say that since it's roundtable, that our approach has been to oppose the landfill because it's not the highest and best use for that location, which is basically right in the suburbs. And the strategy, I just want to make sure the council knows that my efforts and such has not been to demonize the developer or a senator or representative that supports the developer, because of the very reasons that I think Mr. Durham's talking about. It doesn't play well with other jurisdictions. So we have to stay focused on MDNR and the reasons why the landfill is not a good fit for this location. So, but I think we can continue that effort and try to figure out how to do what he said when it comes to making sure our citizens continue to let MDNR know that they're concerned about this. Is that fair, Mr. Durham?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I think you want to kind of calm them as much as possible, but certainly keep them informed. And kind of, there may be opportunities to let them present their concerns to some committee, board, something. So I think kind of keep them on a slow boil if possible.
Okay. So I just want to say that Mr. Head, we need to keep that up on the communication side, and I think make it more prominent. You have to actually look pretty hard for it on our website. Just it seems to be on everybody's mind. So.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any roundtable items?
Just that the next meeting scheduled would be June 12th.
Okay, does that work for everyone?
It's the second Monday.
Seeing no objections? Okay, perfect. So our next meeting will be June 12th. Seeing no further discussion, I will adjourn this meeting at 12:09 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.